draft, 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 and draft some more. Coming into the free agency, which opens up today. Boy, I didn't see this one coming. Russell Wilson to Pittsburgh? Pennsylvania? With Ciara? What are they going to do in the Midwest? You are watching the Raider D Podcast. Welcome back, everybody. We're going to be talking about Russell Wilson going over to Pittsburgh and playing with the steel curtain and what that means for the Raiders, as Baker Mayfield has been taken off the table and now Russell Wilson, which means that there's only one Pro Bowl caliber free agent quarterback left out there in the field, and that is Kirk Cousins, a guy who's 35 years old coming off an Achilles tear. And whether or not he would even be able to play in the first 4 weeks of the season is a mystery and probably not a risk that the Raiders are willing to take. And so with all of the top flight free agent quarterbacks pretty much off the board, and you're left with nothing but a bunch of Band-Aids like Gardner Minshew or Brissett, you have to ask yourself, Raiders, what are we going to do at the quarterback position? It seems as though we are intent on sticking with AOC and going into the draft because we did not even make a play, and apparently sources are coming out saying that we were not even actually interested in having an interview with Russell Wilson. It's pretty clear what Coach AP wants to do and what Tom Telesco is planning on doing, and that is draft, 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 and draft some more. Coming into the free agency, which opens up today, and I am super excited, we are going to probably be looking at defensive players in the draft, as well as possibly bringing in some offensive line help. But the question really remains, what are we going to do now that most of the quarterbacks in the free agency who are worth a dime are not going to be Raiders? Are we going to move up? Are we going to sell the farm and go all in on a Jaden Daniels? That is the question that everybody is asking, because obviously he is the fan favorite and the favorite of Coach AP and a lot of the players. So we have to ask ourselves, is Jaden Daniels going to be worth selling the farm to go up? And how are we going to go up? Because Mac Jones got traded away from the Patriots. He is now a Cleveland Brown backup, which is interesting. So the Patriots are making moves. The Patriots are clearly going to be targeting a quarterback. They are making a move at the most important position in football. And so there goes our trade partner at pick number 3 to try and get Jaden Daniels. I'm looking at the board here, guys, and I'm going to be honest, I don't see any way for this to work. I don't see how we end up with Jaden Daniels. Now, anything can happen. Russell Wilson signed with Pittsburgh. I know they were the favorites in some realms, but I just didn't see the personality fit there for him and his wife, who's a pop star. But I guess the interview went really, really well, and they hit it off. Now it's official. He's going to be signing with the Steelers. So the Raiders, we don't want to end up relying on a guy like a Gardner Minshew. Yeah, he played great for Indy last year when Anthony Richardson went down, but is he going to win you a Super Bowl? Is he a face of the franchise kind of guy? I think not. And so I'm just curious as to what your guys' thoughts are. Hit me down there in the comments and let me know. With Russell Wilson off the board, Baker Mayfield off the board, and Kirk Cousins being an injury question and too expensive, unlikely at all that he'll be a Raider, what veteran quarterback are we going to go out there and get? You have to have a veteran. I guess you don't have to. I guess Coach AP could just completely change the game and just draft 2 young quarterbacks and call AOC our veteran, which, in today's NFL, I would say that's probably not a bad strategy. If you go out there and you get some young athletic guys on cheap deals, it gives you the ability to spend the farm on a guy like a Christian Wilkins. Give him an offer that he cannot refuse, and all of a sudden, we have a top 3 defensive line. If Tyree Wilson can make that leap this year in his career and prove his worth as a 7th overall draft pick, you got a Christian Wilkins and you got Max Crosby and Malcolm Kuntz continues to progress like he did at the last half of last season, we're phenomenal. And that's going to keep us in games so that you can have those young quarterbacks doing what they do, which is going to be a bit inconsistent, but flash at other times. And if it's AOC, if it's a Michael Penix Jr., maybe a Spencer Rattler in the third round, you add those three guys together, and you got a healthy high school football environment competition for QB1. I think it's great. I'm on board with that. But what I would be more on board with is if somehow Tom Telesco can work some magic and end up with Jaden Daniels in the draft. Because again, I've been saying this and you guys are going to see it. Well, God knows best because I don't know the future, but I'm just saying my feeling is that Jaden Daniels is a generational player. He's going to be the guy that's going to get out there and just wow everybody. Because he's a lot like and being, compared to Lamar Jackson. But coming out of college, Jaden Daniels is a better quarterback. But he has the same legs under him as Lamar Jackson had coming out of college. So you compare that with a more talented arm, and he is generational. As long as he stays healthy, this dude is going to have a fantastic career in the NFL. And we're going to be watching him from the sidelines. Remember, guys, the Raiders passed on Lamar Jackson. Could have had him. Didn't take him. We could have had our franchise quarterback. And I'm just worried now that with the Patriots moving off of Mac Jones, we don't have a trade partner in the top three. I don't see how Jaden Daniels falls. Even if we were to trade to number 4 or 5 or 6, I think it's going to be QB 1, 2, and 3 off of the board. I think you're going to see Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Jaden Daniels off the board right away. Now, the wild card in there is J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy's stock has risen tremendously, whereas just a month ago, he was a late first round, second round pick. Now the conversation is he could actually replace Drake May, which, to be honest, I wouldn't be upset with. I think that Drake May is overblown. I think that Drake May is a second round quarterback. I can't believe all the talking heads have this guy as a top 3 QB. And again, I've said this before. The only reason why he's a top 3 QB on the talking head shows is because it's better to talk about 3 quarterbacks rather than just 1 or 2. That's boring. You got to have more filler to get your videos out there and get people to watch. And so the media has elevated this guy to a top 3 QB when his play and his stats and his win record and his achievements do not show a top 3 quarterback at all. J.J. McCarthy does. He's won every single game in his entire high school and college career minus 3. A fantastic winning career. He's won the highest you can win in college, which is a national championship. But he's not, in my opinion, the quarterback like a Jaden Daniels. He's not even a Caleb Williams. It's a night and day difference between those 3 quarterbacks. But if the Raiders were to somehow end up with a J.J. McCarthy, I wouldn't be upset with it as long as we pick up another guy like a Spencer Rattler, a Joe Milton, a wild card guy who could or could not be anything. But you pick them up later in the draft, 3rd, 4th round, if they're available. Snatch them up, you add the depth. I honestly don't think that you need a veteran quarterback walking around with a clipboard. I think that mentality is old and outdated. I think if you're going to do that, you just keep Brian Hoyer. But we cut Brian Hoyer. So that's telling me that the Raiders are going younger. I don't see us with an old guy. I see us either somebody in the free agency who can actually compete, like a Russell Wilson would have been a starter, like a Baker Mayfield would have been a starter. But those guys are off the board. So now maybe a Gardner Minshew, can come in, maybe a Ryan Tannehill type guy, but they're going to be in competition with AOC and whoever we draft. To be honest, I would rather just see us draft the guys and roll with AOC. At this point, with the two big names off the board, and again, I'm against Kirk Cousins. He's too expensive. The injury is an issue. If he didn't have the injury, if it wasn't for that Achilles, I would not be against a Kirk Cousins. The dude can throw 4,000 yards. He can get you to the playoffs. He hasn't been able to win it, but he can get you there. And then you rely on the defense. But with that injury and the amount of money he wants, I don't see the Raiders going that route. So it looks like we're going to be in a competition with AOC. He is QB1 until he is not. When AP makes that decision, if he makes that decision, then we will ride with that. And for everybody who hates AOC right now, I think you guys just have PTSD from Derek Carr.